And we're back. We're live. And tonight we're talking with Dale Kaczmarek. And what was it last weekend, Dale? We went and did an investigate with you.
Yeah. It was the 30th of July. We were at the Valley of the Kings Tiger Sanctuary. Very neat place.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
it was pretty cool. They have a lot of interesting animals and stuff.
Yeah,
I
but
know that
it was buffalo.
That lioness just did not like Joe.
Yeah, well, and then there was the interesting story about the trailer.
Yeah, the interesting stories and the fact that I wish that I had a camera in the back of my head at the point when I was standing there listening to Jill tell us that story because I know damn good and well that a shadow walked up and stood behind me.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. That was pretty interesting.
I we were Jill was standing next to me on my right hand side, and Mike was on her right hand side, and I had nobody on my left. And she's telling us the story about what was going on and all the stuff about the tiger and the owner of the tiger and everything. And middle of that story, out of the corner of my eye, I seen a shadow literally walk up and just stand right next to me. And I pretty much did a double take. I turned my head, nothing there, and I just kind of was like turned a complete circle. And then I had to ask Jill and Mike if they'd seen it.
Yeah.
But I know what I seen. I know it was there. So it
You were
was
just hallucinating again.
very weird.
Yeah. For those that are not familiar with that, it's up in Sharon, Wisconsin, and it's beautiful. It's not open to the public; it's just members only. But they have a lot of animals that for one reason or another, it can't be released back into the wild. They're either blind or crippled, or
Yeah.
they have just been raised, with us, and they can't get that instinctive traits back to actually go out and hunt for themselves. So they're very well treated. They're very well fed.
Oh yeah, that place was very well kept.
I mean, you didn't smell any smell when I was walking through, like you would in the zoo, for instance. And it's an amazing place. There was unfortunately two people that were killed by a white tiger in one of the trailers that we were actually investigating, and we had some interesting stuff come through with the Phasma box when we were there. And I think the very first thing that came out of the Phasma box, even before I asked the question, sounded very much like the word tiger. And I
heard that.
I have to play that back and cut that out and listen to that. And then later on, I think they actually something sounded like it said killed or something to that effect. And then we were actually using a REM pod. And I don't know if you guys were there for that. And when we brought Jill, who was the curator, Jill Carnegie. He's actually.
No, you were starting to look for her about the time we were leaving.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was right after we left
that part of the investigation.
that you did.
Yeah, we were using the REM pod, and we brought Jill back. I brought Jill over. I said, "Well, if there's spirits there, they might be more inclined to talk to you, I should say, than to strangers. And so these people, the people that were killed. Maybe you can just start asking questions." And he started asking questions, and the REM pod starts going off. And then she says, "Touch that thing," and the thing starts going off on command. And it was pretty interesting. We were shooting a live Facebook video, so people can go onto my page on Facebook and search for that. I don't know if it was my timeline or it was my GRS page, Ghost Research Society, but either one, you should be able to find it on there. And it was pretty interesting that the REM pod was going up pretty much on command. And as you know, REM pod, you got to get kind of close to it for that thing to go off. It produces a field around that probe, and once you get close to it, it begins to light up and then alert audibly. So you have to get fairly close, a few inches or so, away from it before it begins to alert. And there was nobody anywhere close to it. None of my other equipment was setting it off, because it was just kind of like, it seemed like it went off every time. Well, not every single time, but a lot of times she was asking questions or telling it to touch that device, and it seemed like it wanted to go off. So that was pretty interesting as well. I thought that was pretty cool. But obviously, because of the people that died there, and we were basically, doing the EVP exactly where these people were killed at the end of the trailer there. There was a man and a woman both killed, and then the tiger had to be put down, unfortunately, by a SWAT team that came in there. So it's kind of reminiscent of the old Siegfried and Roy,
Yeah.
scenario where they had this tiger, they raised it from a cub apparently, or they had a couple of tigers actually, and raised it from a cub. And I mean, they're friendly to a point, but they still got that instinctive wild nature.
Yep.
They really can't be trusted so much. And it actually, I think, killed Roy, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know what happened to the tiger.
I don't think it killed him. I think it hurt him pretty bad.
Okay. And I don't know what happened to the tiger after that. I don't know if they put it down.
They put it down.
They did put it down. Okay.
Yeah, they had to.
Because usually when an animal like that, even a wild animal or a somewhat, you really can't domesticate them, but somewhat domesticated, once they taste blood, that's they're pretty much ruined.
Well,
Pretty much ruined.
The documentary, I was watching a documentary on those two guys not so long ago, and the one that was attacked, he didn't die, but the one that was attacked was basically defending the tiger, saying that it was dragging him to safety. It was trying to,
No, it was not.
but that was no. But watch that documentary once. I mean, he really was both of them. Both Siegfried and Roy were defending that tiger.
Okay, I'll have to check that.
They were basically saying that it was trying to protect whichever one that it supposedly attacked, and it basically had him by the neck, like a tiger would have its cubs pick its cubs up by the neck and carry it away. That they said that's the way that tiger, it was doing the same thing, but yeah, it punctured something or bit him good there, and yeah.
Well, I mean, most of those wild cats are instinctively, when they go for the kill, they go for the neck.
Right.
Not so much to rip the neck out, it's to suffocate the person. It's to close up your esophagus or your breathing, so you actually suffocate.
Right. And when they pick up their cubs, what they're doing is they're picking up that excess skin and fur or whatever, which humans don't have, so they're going to end up puncturing shit.
Yeah.
With those big ass, they got huge fangs. I mean, I saw pretty close that other night, when we were with you out there. I was sitting there, my daughter called, and I went to the back so I could hear her good. And I was standing right next to one tiger cage, kind of, and all of a sudden that tiger gets up and he started like he was charging at me, and I like, oh shit, my life flashed before me. I'm like thinking, hold together, cage.
Yeah. Well, I remember that one tiger that was up there in the front, very close to where that trailer was. I forget the name of that tiger. She said it a couple of times, but I'll have to go back and redo the video. But that's the one that had the kind of the gimp leg. It had a kind of a lame leg, and I was able to get literally about that close. I mean, the only thing that was separating me was that cyclone fence, pretty much, and it was a good, heavy duty cyclone fence. They weren't going to, get through that. And I mean, he came right up to me, and I mean, that's something that I'll never forget, because when you go to a zoo, I mean, you're lucky to be 30 feet away or 50 feet away sometimes, maybe not quite that far, but at least 30 feet away. You usually have a moat between you, and you can't get anywhere close to that tiger like that. And I was literally right up to that fence, and he came up to me, and he started making a really weird sound. And the best way I can describe it is kind of like he was going something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I thought he was sneezing or something. And she said, no, he's talking to you. He's communicating with you. I go, I've never heard a tiger do that before. So he would walk away and I would do that noise and he came back. It's like he was like coming back. So I was kind of, connecting with him a little bit, and then he made a couple of like low kind of like low growls. And I said, well, I really wanted to hear one of these really big growls coming out of him, but that didn't happen. But
I like it when you hear those big cats purr though too, because they do purr.
yeah,
I heard they had a cougar at the Mackenzie Center, and you'd get close enough to that cougar or the bobcat up there, and every now and then you'd hear them purring.
yeah, oh yeah, they're just like a cat. I mean, literally they're instinctive. It's just, in fact, this place had like 50, 60 cats or something. I mean, I don't even know, maybe 100. And a gray cat followed us around the whole time we were walking through the sanctuary. This little gray cat was just following us around. He would sit down.
That was a tour guide.
And I'm thinking, I'm kind of talking with him. I'm saying, oh, what do you think about your big brothers here? And he's just kind of looking around, and he just, very, very, very friendly. But so many different small cats there, and she made the distinction between the small cats and the big cats. So that was an amazing place. Something.
Yeah, there was one of those that just didn't you get scratched or something, Mark, by one of those? Like
the one named
Damien.
The one named Damien.
Yeah.
Damien. Oh yeah.
We got in a swatting
good
contest.
too.
We got in a swatting contest, and then he finally at the end decided to wrap his miniature murder mittens around my arm, and then went and tried to bite me in this part of the hand. And
that was really a cool place. So they had wolves, grizzly bear, black bear. But those wolves, I had those things going.
I was howling, and they were howling with me, and I go, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then it was some goats and lambs and stuff like that, and I was kind of like, and every time I do that, they come running back to the front of the cage there, like they were hearing me, and they were relating to me. So it was amazing. I mean, if I could have growled like a grizzly bear, I would have tried to do that to get them close to me.
I think the goats just wanted attention.
Yeah.
They're like they were acting just like the ones I'd see at the children's zoo at Vilas in Madison. Anybody gets close to their cage, they're all right there, making that noise, wanting a handout.
Yeah.
Because in the children's zoo they could feed them these pellets, some kind of pellets that were specialized for the goats. Yeah, get them out like a gumball machine.
If we could have been there when some of those big cats were being fed, because I think that would have been.
I've been there. I've seen that several times. I used to go to the zoo a lot in the summer because I was like walking distance from the place. So I spent a lot of time down there in the summertime because of the beach, for one, swimming. But we'd walk around the zoo, and then, it was a cheap place to get some food, than trying to find a restaurant and then come back, like a McDonald's and then come back. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time in that zoo. So I saw those cats get fed quite often. And oh my God, it's a sight to see. You ever get a chance? I mean, I think I don't know if they still do, but when I was a kid, they used to post the feeding schedule when you'd actually can come there into the cat house and watch them feed the cats.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that or not. It's been a long time. I haven't been there since I moved.
Yeah. Besides the unfortunate death of two members that were killed by the tiger, Jill was also talking about another ghost that she came across called Hoppy. And to her, it looked like some sort of like farmer guy that had overalls and kind of like like a checkered shirt, those farmer shirts that they used to wear. And, she said that one time she actually saw it, staring through the window before they put the information booth on there, which there used to be a window, to the outside. And there was a couple of other times she said that she would hear somebody outside chopping wood.
I heard that story.
And then she would hear somebody coming into the house and like dropping a bunch of wood on the ground, like they had just chopped a bunch of wood and were stowing it away in the home. Of course, she there was never any wood or anything, so but she knew this happened on a regular basis and a regular time. So she said that she actually it was like 4:30 in the morning or something, this really, really early. So she set her alarm clock to get up like at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then she heard somebody chopping and somebody coming in. And this time she saw the guy. She saw the guy and he kind of turned towards her and kind of smiled and just disappeared. And that's pretty cool. It's a full-bodied apparition that has
and that's typical for a farmer to be up at that early in the morning.
It recognized you and you saw it and it saw you, and that's cool. That's an intelligence. I've never had that happen to me yet, ever. So I'm always envious of people that claim to have had that happen to them.
Right.
They're not even paranormal investigators.
Right.
Place and something happens and people
They're
see
in the right place at the right time.
Even my wife seen that little girl upstairs after we investigated that cemetery near St. Louis. There was a little girl's grave, and then came back home, and I was sleeping in one room and she was sleeping in the other because I was snoring so bad before I got my sleep apnea and my sleep ap. And she said she saw a little girl. I said, well, I mean, darn, I wanted to see it, and she didn't really want to see it, but she saw it. So I'm a little jealous of people that actually see something like that. That's what I strive for. That's what you would call the holy grail, so to speak.
Right.
The paranormal, to see something, not just a full-body apparition, but something that looks at you and there's a connection that sees you and you see it. So, yeah.
An acknowledgement there between the two.
Absolutely.
It's like actually seeing Bigfoot and having it see you, and you're looking eye to eye with an actual Bigfoot out in the forest somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be like absolutely cool.
Yeah, Bigfoot, I mean, I'd be a little leery on that. And even say, the Beast of Bray Road. I don't know if I want to come in contact with that thing face to face. I mean, from a distance, I could say, yeah, I wouldn't mind, but those cryptids or those weird creatures. It's something maybe I'd like to
fascinate me. They're the thing that the cryptids are what drives me.
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that I really, really get into, that part, I mean, I've got it arranged as soon as we can find some time, between Mark, myself, and my wife and stuff. We're going to go out and ride a paddle boat on Lake Pepin and look for Wisconsin's own Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
So, and I'm hoping, if at very least, I'm hoping maybe to catch a glimpse or two of a bull shark, because they've been known to travel up and down the Mississippi. And that's one of the lakes in the Mississippi.
I mean, isn't there supposed to be what they call a dog man or something in Wisconsin as well, somewhere?
No, that's the Beast of Bray Road. The dog man's in
Beast of
Michigan.
Bray Road? I mean, I thought there was another one that was kind of like a...
No, they're basically considered the same thing, but it just depends on where you are in the world. Dogman's in Michigan. That's what they call the Michigan, Linda Godfrey basically said there's, so many common things. So it's like one of those things. It's like a cougar and a mountain lion. It's the same animal. It just depends on where you are in the world. It's what it's called. Bigfoot, the same thing. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, abominable snowman, whatever you want to call it. It's the same creature. supposedly.
Yeah, they got one in Missouri they call the Momos, the Missouri
Skunk
Monster.
Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But,
think
yeah,
they're all variations of the same creature.
creature.
perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they're offshoots or
Who
cousins
knows?
or, different
Developed different ways,
hybrids.
or evolved in different ways because of the environment that they live in. So that they can adapt.
That's
Absolutely.
possible.
I got a question for you though, Dale. You mentioned something when we talked because you told me you're always available, but you don't have to post that. I always know that. But when we had that caretaker for the Berlin Tannery, you said you had some interesting stories to tell about that place.
Yeah, I mean, there were several things. I think this was before we were using the Phasma box. I think we only had the obelisk and maybe a ghost box and something of that nature. I think I just had the SP7. I didn't even have the SP11. And there were several very interesting things that when we played back some of the audio from the cameras that we had set up, the camcorders, we were monitoring the different areas because it's a pretty big area. It's pretty.
What kind of camcorders back then?
Well, I mean, these were Sony night shots. This wasn't that far back.
Okay.
But these were Sony night shots that you could basically see in the dark, and we had these set up in various rooms because we were trying to cover the entire building. There was like a downstairs, if you remember, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of
we haven't been there yet, but she said it was a fairly big place.
There's like a ramp that goes downstairs. Well, it's to move stuff back and forth instead of taking it up and down the stairs. They just kind of made a ramp. And we had a camera set in there. We had a camera set upstairs, and I think we had about 3 or 4 cameras set up that evening at various parts of the building. And when we played back the video later on, when we reviewed the evidence, we had the upstairs one was very interesting because we didn't catch anything visually, but we actually heard the sound of a circular saw being turned on. You would hear the
wow.
And it was very, very clear. It was unmistakable. And obviously, in the room that we had that camera set up, I mean, they did have circular saws, but they were very rusty. They were old. They probably didn't work anymore. They were just there for, the effect to show what what people would have used back then. There were some things that happened down near that ramp. We heard sounds of. The best way I can describe it is like a screech or like a distant scream that we heard, and then we actually heard what sounded like footsteps approaching the camera, and nobody was anywhere around. In fact, I always tell people in my group that if you come across the camera, the camera can't turn back around to see who's approaching. So you got to say, when you approach a camera from behind, hey, that's me. I'm walking up to it. So when we review it, we can differentiate between, a real person and maybe a spirit. And nobody was anywhere nearby. And in fact, the way the camera was faced, the only way you couldn't get behind the camera unless you went in front of the camera first, because that's just the way it was set up. And we did pick up some interesting things. I don't think we picked up too many EVPs. I can't remember. Maybe we didn't pick up any. I don't think, perhaps, but it was mostly like residual sounds that may have taken place when the building was open, like saws going off, people walking around and things of that nature. There's a lot of plastic, hanging plastic down in the basement area, and we actually heard that kind of crinkle a couple times, like it was being moved. And there was no air conditioning, no fans, anything going off down there to move that stuff, because it was a little warm down there. So we did pick up some interesting stuff when we were there, and it's an interesting building, to say the least.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go
the
check that one out.
Yeah.
definitely want to go check that out. And she was also talking about a demon that was allegedly there.
Okay.
I think she even said in the ramp area.
Yeah, that's probably the same place that where I'm talking about, basically. So I don't know if what we were picking up were demons. I don't think it was. At least
No, she was saying that they have one predominant demon that it said its name.
Okay.
I'd have to actually go back and look at the video to remember its name. But it's kind of interesting to me because in Wicca and witchcraft, it's known that if you know the true name of a demon, there's actual spells that you can use in order to control it.
Okay.
You can literally make it your pawn and make it do whatever you want it to do. But you have to know its true name.
Right.
So when she told me that this thing told her its name, I'm thinking it wasn't its real name.
Yeah. Yeah, we were there in 2015 in July, actually, and just a couple of things that they said, that there was there's a room at the bottom of the ramp on the second floor that proprietors claim is the most active room of the building. Some of the past experiences include growls, REM pods going off, as well as K2 meters going off. That was once knocked out of an investigator's hand when they were down there. There's also been some shadow play in that area where people have seen like shadow images in that area where that ramp is. There's actually on the second floor, there's a hallway where there's a humming sound heard. People have been touched. There's even been what has been described as a mild possession in one case, some past investigators. There is a room full of sofas and couches and items that have been tossed about, and a couple of females have been scratched in the past. In the basement, there's a walking sound that has been heard on the catwalk, and that's a creepy area when you get up to that catwalk area. That's an area that we had cameras set up there too, and it's a metal catwalk, and we were hearing like tink, 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 like something that's moving around or walking up there. Other reported voices and groans. There's supposed to be a little girl screaming, so maybe that's what we picked up. There was a kind of a distant scream or screech, so maybe we picked that up from another portion of the building. Some of the things that we picked up was sounds of a table saw going off, squeaking sounds, background talking, kind of like mumbling, or you could hear somebody talking in the background, and it was none of us. Some bangs, in fact, a lot of bangs, and creaky noises on the catwalk, in the locker room area. I mean, we have a whole bunch of growls and different apparently knocking sounds and loud noises, and we did pick up, obviously it's been a while since I looked at this. Actually, we did pick up quite a bit more EVPs than I actually thought we picked up. But I mean, I could try to play this. I don't know how good it's going to sound. I can try to play this through the my cell phone here. This circular saw or something coming on here. Let's see. Let's see. I was squeaking. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Where's that? Trying to find it in here. It may be a video file, and I may not have it. Let me just look here real quick.
It sounds like it's a pretty active place.
It is. I mean, we heard dragging sounds like something that I don't say somebody, but something was dragging around. There was a couple of times that we got some hellos that we heard in the background that we actually recorded.
Is this place like open by any chance? Like are there like any like windows that don't exist, but it's like wide open to the outside? Almost like,
um,
like some of your abandoned buildings, things aren't boarded up, they're wide open.
yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think obviously it's an older building, so there may be
Right.
some that were actually open, but most of them were closed. Here's that table saw. I'll say I'm not going to be able to play it, unfortunately, because hold on. See, I got the audio coming through my hearing aid, so I would have to disconnect that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to hear a whole lot anyways.
There is a basically distinct sound of a table saw or a circular saw being turned on and running, and obviously there were no table saws anywhere. Yeah, it's a creepy area to say the least. And, if I,
No, I'm just curious.
if I could figure out how to share audio through StreamYard, I could just pull up the audio on the StreamYard, but I don't know how to quite do that.
Oh, that's all right. We don't,
But you can go to my website. It actually just says table
yeah,
saw
which is right
sound.
there,
It's a very, very distinct sound.
running
Uh,
across the bottom.
it's kind of distant because it was, it wasn't really, really loud. It may have been the room that this camcorder was in is a fairly long room, and it may have been all the way at the edge of the end of the room, and we just had it. We were just trying to find some outlets where we could plug some of our equipment in. There was electricity to portions of the building, so we tried to use electricity, corded power whenever we can, so we can just keep the batteries from going completely dead, because
Right.
there's quite a bit of building to investigate, and there's multiple floors, and
Right.
it's a creepy area. It really is. Don't get me wrong. I think you guys will enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking back because of things like that, when you got an old abandoned building, and I could have just imagined. I mean, I know what this building was like when it was like in operation at full force.
Hmm.
Okay. Where they had 2 shifts, sometimes 3, depending on what time of year it was. It got closer to Thanksgiving, the holiday season, they'd be running 3 shifts.
Right.
Um, but anyway, because it was wide open, you had all kinds of critters in there. So if you were working at night, you were in a back area or something, and it gets spooky.
Yeah.
The place was dark. You know, I would love to just go back and see if I could talk to some of the people out there on that property, because the building doesn't exist. But I wish I was doing this back when the place was abandoned, because I probably could have gotten an in to go in there and investigate, or at least record
The old Railvac building.
the old Railvac building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked there for Railvac for a while, and then I was security supervisor there for a while. So I was working there when there was nobody in the building, when there wasn't a 3rd shift. I was there during the 3rd shift. And yeah, it was a spooky place because you had raccoons, squirrels, possums, all that shit just running around wild, and there birds all over the place. So you'd hear noises all the time. And sometimes because of the building and the different things in those buildings, you would hear something and think it was something else, but it was just like maybe the squirrel hitting the lamp,
Yeah.
the lighting in the ceiling, that was hanging down, or hitting some metal thing because they jumped out of the rafters.
Well, the three places in the building that for us was very, very active was, so if you guys go there, obviously check out these locations. The area around the catwalk, that was very active. That whole area around that ramp, both down the ramp and up the ramp. Down the ramp, there's supposed to be shadow play. We didn't see any, but then up there was that sound of somebody walking and then rustling the plastic. And then, of course, that room, one of the upstairs rooms where the table saws are and so forth. And that was a very active room as well. These were some of the places we got stuff. And we did, and then maybe the fourth place would be, now I don't know if it's still like that, but in 2015, talking 7 years ago, they had a room that had a bunch of couches and chairs and lounge chairs all kind of in this area. And we just kind of, I said, oh, it'd be great to sit down on a nice Sophie couch here and then, be able to do an EVP. And then we got a lot of stuff right in that area too. So that was kind of cool too. And it was a little cluttered when we were there. I mean, they were still using that, not as a tannery anymore, so to speak, but they had a lot of storage stuff in there. They had a lot of paint cans. They had, all different types of building material and stuff in there. And in some spots were a little, a little congested to go through. But I found it to be a very fascinating area. And I don't know if you've actually seen pictures of it, but we took quite a number of pictures. Some are up on the website. And
I'll have to take a look. I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot. I'm still working on all our Bray Road footage, so I've been trying to get through that and trying to figure out what to do with it, put it together in time. And then we've got something's coming up. State Fair.
Yeah, we've got State Fair on the 13th.
Yeah, State Fair is actually going on right now.
Yeah.
A week from tomorrow, we're going to the State Fair.
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, I've been kind of.
Yeah, I never figured out how to quite share on StreamYard and anything, but I do have a bunch of pictures of some of those areas that I spoke about. They're not all on the website, unfortunately. I think I only posted like 5 or 6 pictures normally of areas where we get a lot of activity. But I have a lot of interesting photographs we took throughout the building, and it's dark. It's a little creepy in some areas, to say the least.
I like creepy.
Yeah, so
that's what makes it fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I wish that they'd not, they keep destroying all this shit just to build strip malls that we don't need because, they're leaving strip malls empty, because they build a new strip mall so people move out of this strip mall and go to that one because there's more space or cheaper rent, and then this one stays empty forever. It's getting ridiculous, and they're tearing down some of these really cool places. I wish they would have never tore down Railvac. I'm pretty sure that place was haunted, because if you got to the second floor and the third floor, especially the third floor where most of the executive offices were, when you got up in there, you would hear some really weird things. I mean, sometimes it'd sound like batteries would be rolling across the floor. Sometimes it'd sound like somebody was, working behind one of their desks, but yet the place was completely dark and closed.
Yeah, it's faint, but you can hear it.
Oh, I can't quite hear it, unfortunately. Was this a YouTube video or something?
Yep, it's a YouTube video.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't quite hear nothing either, but my ears are ringing right now anyways.
It starts right there. About
I'm
8
not-
seconds in, and it runs the entire rest of it. I'm not even sure. I heard it. I could hear it in my headphones.
I trust you. I'm not one to doubt Dale.
No, I don't doubt Dale at all.
Oh, you got, is that the
Yeah.
one with the circular saw?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know,
about 8 seconds in, you can hear
Kind
it.
of,
I'll,
it's kind
I'll
of
have to go to the internet
sound.
and put my headset
Um,
completely on and
It's not like
crank the volume.
really, really loud. I mean, but it is a distant sound, and you can actually, I mean, I know what a circular saw sounds like when it first turns on.
Yep.
And this
I
is
think
just
we all
like
do here.
the catwalk area where I'm standing upon, and we had a lot of interesting noises in the catwalk area. Another place we got a lot of interesting stuff was. See if I can kind of show you this picture here too. Was kind of in this area. Let's see. Get the glare off it if I can. Kind of in this area. Oop, that area. There you go. That area there that we had a lot of activity in, and that's down on the main floor, or that might even be the basement actually. That we got that, and the place. Let's see. This is kind of what the outside looks like. Oops, get the glare out of it again.
Yeah, I kind of seen what the outside of it looks like 'cause when we
Yeah,
were talking
it is. It's an
about
old
it, I
kind of
brought
weather-beaten building, and but it's the inside is just. You know, I think a lot of what people are hearing in there, I think, is residual. You know, from when the building was an active tannery. So you hear sounds and saws and hammering and banging and things of that nature that would have went on at the time that this place was open. Because I mean, we literally most of what we were picking up was just noises and sounds. You know, bang, bang. You know. We actually were doing this was kind of weird too. I mean, you might even be able. This might be a little bit louder, but during our initial walkthrough with the proprietor, he was cautioning us about a hole in the floor. When in the background you hear a disembodied voice that says, "Don't fall in," and it's pretty darn clear. And it wasn't the proprietor saying that; it was just somebody, a spirit saying, "Don't fall in." That was pretty cool. Dragging sounds and growls and guy saying, "Hi, it's Jim," and
growls in a place like that. I think I might worry about.
yeah,
You know, considering that they could be like a hound of hell or something like that because you're close to like some kind of portal or some shit.
we were doing
One
another
got
EVP session in a room with the sofas when a voice was heard in between the group members, which sounds like I held her down.
Oh
Yeah,
no, that's
a lot of
scary.
crazy stuff that we actually picked up. We actually did pick up a strange light. Um, let's see, that was in it was a glowing object that appears in front of Jim Piscopal's chest and slowly drifts towards the floor before disappearing. And I don't think it was an orb because I don't post orbs. It was a strange light that was there. We heard voices, both disembodied voices and also ones that we recorded. It was a very active area when we went down there. I was very pleased that we got as much as we did. Sometimes just catching audio on
Looks like you got a lot.
just catching like audio on the on the audio track of videotapes to me is great, because it just indicates that there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I think we actually, kind of broke up. Initially, we were kind of all together, so we knew where everybody was at, so we weren't hearing other members in other rooms. So I think maybe towards the end we might have broke off a little bit, but when we did, we tried to stay separated. And I know none of my members were purposely banging on the walls or anything like that. So I mean, I don't know if they
He
heard.
would do it just to screw with me.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'd tell you afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he wouldn't let me go on thinking it was something when it was nothing.
yeah,
So, I mean, we got to try to figure out when we're even out. I mean, we went like the cemetery. We went back and back until we figured out, oh yeah, it was just the light playing shadows because we went back around the same time of day, and
Yep. That
it
that
was
was the
just the way we were looking down at that part of the cemetery at the right time of day and the light and the movement. Yeah, just that kind of thing playing tricks on the camera.
yeah,
yeah.
It happens, but we figured it out. See? So it
Yeah.
makes it interesting.
But I also did a little more calculating on that one too, because I had me and Tanya out in the field of a vision of the camera, so I could get an understanding of what sizes we're looking at and the distance and we were at with whatever that was, and so that way we could figure out,
Yeah, well,
what we
yeah,
needed to know.
we still determined it was nothing.
Yeah, it turned out basically it turned out to be just
You know, I
shadow play.
that's still one of the considered though, even though we didn't get much or have anything really happen, it's still considered one of the most haunted cemeteries in the Madison area or in Wisconsin. It's on
yeah,
I know.
the list.
And that one actually has reports of people seeing Civil War soldiers walking through it.
And it's strange because me and all my cousins, when we were just little kids, we'd cross over
I don't believe you.
and play Ghost in the Graveyard over there, like in the wintertime or,
I don't believe
'cause
you.
you had those big gatherings or whatever.
I don't
You know,
believe you
my
were. I don't believe you were a little kid.
whatever. Anyway, because my grandparents and my family owned those 4 houses that were right there in that triangle across the street. But I never saw anything, but I heard a lot of stories. Plus, you add in from what I gathered, all the activity that happened in that cemetery over the years when my dad was younger and the stories I heard. Yeah, I'm not shocked that things go on there.
yeah.
I just hope that someday when we go through there, we're there at the right time to catch something. That would be cool. I know the cemetery, I know the history. I also know a little bit of the history of it's like, what is it, Crest Funeral Home now? Is that what it was when we were over there? Mark.
Um,
Anyway, I think it was Crest.
I think it was Crest. Yeah.
But when I was younger, it was Fauci's funeral home. So, I mean, I know a little bit about the area because it's all part of the Greenbush neighborhood as well.
Is it still a funeral home?
Yeah, it's a Crest Funeral Home now.
Okay.
It's an actual Crest, Cress.
See, that's one thing I've been kind of following is, and this is something I've followed for years, is what buildings turn into after when they close down.
Right.
So there's at least at least a half a dozen, if not more, probably closer to a dozen places in the Chicagoland area that used to be funeral homes that are something different. Now they're either tattoo parlors, they're restaurants, they're bars. In one case, they're CarMax.
I got that by memory on some things, especially when it comes to Madison, because I grew up there and we moved around a lot, you know. And yeah, it's amazing how things change over
Yeah.
the years.
Yeah, sorry, I
No.
got a text message from
There
one
was
of our
like
guys
a
that needed to know how to
A&W
make.
on Monona Drive when I was in high school in the 80s. Then in the 90s, it turned into a Blockbuster, basically. And then that turned into now it's like I think it's some exercise equipment, but it went through like 3 changes between that. They sell exercise equipment now or some shit.
Yeah.
Or they're actually a gym. I don't know which. I don't live there no more. I haven't lived there for 7 years. Don't care to go back. I like the small, quiet communities.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
don't like.
like the CarMax, for instance. I mean, the basement of the CarMax, which is now office cubicles, pretty much for the CarMax. A lot of people don't realize is the downstairs is where they, prepared the bodies and embalmed the bodies, and it just places all over the south side here that I actually got pictures of what used to be there and what's there now. And often wonder, some of these places. I know for in fact that at least 3 or 4 of them that used to be funeral homes. In fact, the Evangelical Spiritualist Church, where we had our first conference, well, I'm not say our first conference, but our most recent conference several years ago. Again, it used to be a funeral home too, and they actually, you can still see the elevator, so to speak, where they would put the coffin up, and or the casket, they would come from the basement where they would embalm the bodies, and they would come up, and then they'd slide it off, and they'd put it on the display area. In fact, the actual sink where they would use to embalm the bodies, that's still down there, the original sink, and that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty creepy.
And, we've done some stuff down there in the past. I can get in there pretty much anytime I want to run paranormal investigations, or to even to have a conference if I wanted to, and get the place pretty much for free, the venue, which we did during our first convention there. But yeah, that's an interesting area too. There were a few others in Chicago that I've been trying to get into. One called Old Town Tattoo. It used to be a funeral home. The one that used to be the Coletta Funeral Home that eventually turned into Ethel's Party. It was a bar. It has now been switched hands again, and now it's a Chinese restaurant, which is basically right on the edge of Chinatown. Anyway, they used to call it Tito's on the edge.
That whole place, Chicago, that whole place just frightens the hell out of me.
Yeah.
My first visit to Chicago was not very pleasant. I was driving down there because a buddy of mine didn't have his license, of course. So he wanted to go see his dad. So they paid me to go drive him and his brother down there. Well, we get down there and we're at I don't even know. I can't remember the street or anything. All I remember, we were at a stop and go light, and all of a sudden, this bus comes out of nowhere, or no, not bus. It was a car. The bus drivers are rude. The car comes out of nowhere and hits somebody and rams them into a brick wall.
Wow.
That was like my first impression of Chicago.
Well, you'd have a more negative impression if you went to Chicago today with all the shootings and everything going on.
Well, Milwaukee's not getting any better. Every time I turn on the news, there's a shooting in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And that's where our conference is this year, is in Milwaukee, in October.
Well, Rockford's another area that's not so safe, certain parts of Rockford. And now
I liked Rockford.
Yeah, I do too. but I'm going to be giving a talk at Kathy Cressel's Haunted Rockford conference on August 20th. And I mean, we were actually doing an investigation of this building called Tinkerswitz Cottage, which is very haunted up there. And during one of our investigations in the building, and it was very, very quiet, all of a sudden you hear pow, 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 pow. And I didn't
Like
know
gunshots or like firecrackers.
Yeah, I didn't first know what it was, but then the guy says, somebody probably just got shot. And sure enough, the very next day, we read about in the papers that there was a party that it got out of control, and some guy came back with a gun and shot some people.
Yeah, I used to hear that all the time when I was in Madison.
The funny part is we caught it on an EVP, so we got the pow, 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 pow on an EVP. It's kind of muffled because it's not right close to us, which thank heavens it wasn't. But you can hear it on the EVP. So,
but I used to live in a very bad neighborhood on the north side of Madison, and yeah, I used to hear that all the time. Gunshots, um, squealing tires, at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I'd stay up late sometimes playing video games because I can't sleep. I get insomnia, So yeah, I'd hear those, with the windows open because it'd get hot on the second floor, so you'd have windows open. The air conditioning didn't work, but you'd hear the tires squealing on a normally quiet road at that time of night,
Now
and you hear that.
Madison's the capital of Wisconsin, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also a college town.
Yeah.
Also the home of the Wisconsin Badgers, Camp
Yeah.
Randall Stadium is one hell of a sight to see. It is I've never been there to see a football game, but I was there to see a concert or two. So
yeah.
But the architecture, it's a very old place. It's really cool to see. It's something else.
Yeah, we're going to be traveling. Myself and several members of my group is traveling down to northern Alabama to do an investigation on September 16th, 17th, and 18th to investigate what's known as the Cloverdale, Alabama Spooklight mystery. I actually published a book through our publishing company called The Amazing Cloverdale, Alabama Spooklight Mystery by Wyatt Cox. And he's got a number of pictures that he took out there. In fact, this entire book, which is about that thick, is all about one ghost light, one spook light out there. And it's a lot of history. It's been investigated by scientists. In fact, we're going to meet with a couple of scientists that are going to be out there with us. We're going to have a whole gamut of equipment that we're bringing out, including Geiger counters, which I have, and negative static field detectors and infrared.
All right, where do you get Geiger counters?
Where do we get Geiger counters? Well, I'll tell you what. One of my, which he's actually still part of the group, Stan Suho, was my electronics wizard, and he actually got the schematics, which I can send you if you guys are interested. If you guys are kind of like handy dandy, I mean. He found the schematics to a Geiger counter in Popular Electronics magazines way back probably in the 1990s. And
back in the 70s, you could go to a Radio Shack back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they had those
80s too, Joe.
They had those kits, like you could make all these different electronic projects and stuff, and one of them was a Geiger counter in one of those kits.
Yeah.
They had an actual it was like in a small box, and that was the whole project. It wasn't like one of the big ones, but it was like a smaller version of the big thing.
Now you do realize back in the 50s and 60s, they actually, in some of those kits that they put together like that, they actually did put samples of plutonium and stuff in those for the kids for their experiments.
Well, I actually I had this Geiger counter that he built and the most expensive part of it was the Geiger tube, which we were able to find at that point. I don't know if it was Radio Shack or someplace else, and then everything else was pretty much nickel and dime stuff, from Radio Shack. So he put it into a case and put counters on there. He made it where you can make it more or less sensitive before it would alert, and to test to see if the thing actually worked, I used americium 238, or was it 237? Americium, which is a low-grade radioactive material that is found in almost every smoke detector on the market. And they use that, believe it or not. You can take this apart. You can find this little tiny little chip of americium, which is slightly radioactive. It's not going to make you sick unless maybe you swallowed it. And I could even demonstrate it. I mean, basically, you have to get it really, really close to the Geiger tube before it begins to register. In fact, from what the research I did on americium is that americium is such a low-grade radioactive material that even an ordinary sheet of paper can stop it from going through. So it's very, very low grade. Obviously, it's in all the smoke detectors. So obviously, a lot of millions of homes got smoke detectors, and nobody's ever getting sick. But I was able to find a piece from that, and we always demonstrate that when I'm doing presentations to show you that this is actually alerting for radioactive material. So we're going to be out there with a whole bunch of different equipment, including night vision binoculars that'll record and take photographs at a distance of a football field, 300 feet. Night shot cameras, FLIR cameras. We're hopefully going to have a drone out there as well, with infrared drone. And we're going to be out there with eyewitnesses, scientists, and we have a cabin that we're getting for free. That the gentleman out there says that he knows the owner. The owner is allowing us to have the cabin for free. It has bunk beds. It has running water, electricity, air conditioning, shower, toilets, everything, all the comforts.
Nice.
And you just walk out of this cabin, and you're basically right there where this Spooklight has been seen. He called it an Earthlight. So I've seen the photographs in his book that I published. I'm not 100% convinced of what he was seeing or photographing, because most of the ones that he took that are in the book are elongated. So in other words, most likely what's happening is the light is moving and it's not stationary, so it's moving and creating like a blur. They're not an orb, but you remember they used to call them rods. So that's a lot of what's in his book, and he says he's seen it. Every time he goes out there. He's actually from South Carolina, from Benton, South Carolina. And he's going to travel all the way out to Alabama. Of course, we're going to travel from Chicago to Alabama, which is about a 9.5-hour trip. And then on top of that, during the daytime, because obviously the Spooklight's not out during the daytime, nearby Florence, Alabama, there is the whole downtown area is literally infested with ghosts. I mean, there's actually a Civil War battle, or actually a skirmish called the Battle of Cherokee Station. And I'm a big fan of Civil War stuff, so I've never been out there, so we're going to see that. There's actually a bookstore off campus. There's actually what's called Trowbridge's Ice Cream and Sandwich Bar. So that'd be a great place to go and get a sandwich and an ice cream, and maybe we can actually investigate that. There's a tavern called Pope's Tavern. There's actually a couple of bridges, one called Ghost Bridge. Sweetwater Mansion. I don't know if you ever remember the series on TV called Ghost Lab. Well, Ghost Lab was actually out there at Sweetwater Mansion. It's also in Florence. There's an Indian mound and a museum out there, and Indian mounds are notoriously haunted. And a whole bunch of other places. In fact, there's another skirmish of a Civil War site on Old Lee Highway in Tuscumbia. So we got plenty to do during the day, literally, that we can investigate. And I printed out like about a dozen pages of places in and around the area, including a theater, the University of Northern Alabama. Certain of the buildings are supposed to be haunted. I don't know if we'll get permission to go into any of those buildings, unfortunately. But a lot of the other places, I think we should have no problem getting into, because they seem to be very open to kind of showing off and showcasing their paranormal sites in and around Florence, which is only about roughly 15 minutes away from where the Spooklight is located. So I'm going to have fun. We're going to be bringing out some high-powered binoculars as well, just ordinary binoculars. So we should, if the thing is out there and we are able to see it, I should come back with some pretty interesting footage, hopefully, as long as it's not too far away and it's fairly bright, so we can at least see it from where we're at. And they say you can literally get almost right on top of it. So, I mean, that's going to be interesting.
That will be.
So that's one of my.
When is this happening again?
September 17th, 18th, and 19th. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then we're going to be leaving bright and early on Saturday morning, about 9.5 hours. So we'll probably be leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning or something. Probably get down like in the afternoon. Maybe take a little nap for a few hours and be ready for the first night of observing. Then we'll get the good night's sleep after that, and then we'll be able to do stuff during the day in Florence and Tuscumbia and Sheffield and all around Cherokee Station and so forth. Now, the Battle of Cherokee Station is not actually a battlefield. You just have to kind of know where this ground was that they fought on, which I researched through my extensive library I have on the Civil War. Right. And even though it's not listed in there, I was able to find some stuff online and some at least mention of the town of Cherokee. Now, when they say Cherokee Station, they usually talk about a railroad station. And railroads obviously were a big part of the Civil War because they brought in supplies and so forth. So if you could disrupt, the stations and the rail stations, you would keep supplies from coming into the operating army. So this was a battle to take over that station. And from what I was able to determine, there was this was on October 21st, 1863. There was approximately, let's see how many people died here. They said that the Union forces sustained about 35 casualties, where the Confederates suffered between 300 to 400.
Holy shit!
So that was kind of a one-sided event.
Yeah, a one-sided bloodbath.
Their ass handed to them, pretty much. There.
One-sided bloodbath.
Yeah. And it was a lot of it was cavalry. There were cavalry troops in here. The 5th Ohio Cavalry, a troop of Confederate cavalry, the 3rd U.S. Cavalry. The 5th Cavalry only lost 3 men and 2 horses, but the Confederates got their ass handed to them pretty much.
Right.
Of course, this was in 1863. This was after Gettysburg. This was after the fall of Vicksburg, which fell, on July 4th. Gettysburg fell on July 3rd. So they basically were pushing the Southerners further and further east. They took over, obviously, pretty much almost all of Louisiana. And then they were trying to, take over northern Alabama and pushing them further away, into Georgia, South Carolina, southwestern Tennessee. Southeastern Tennessee, I should say, and
Virginia.
Yeah, that was a kind of a different theater, but yeah, in that same area, they were pushing them. They were pushing them in that direction. They were trying to get them out of the South and try to get them out into open fields where they could, just destroy them. And apparently, what they did here, they did. So I don't think there's any markers that I'm aware of, but I know exactly where the GPS. I got the GPS plotted, so we can actually punch it in by GPS. And there's actually I did a Google search for a streets. What do you call it? A Google Street
Google Maps.
and Street View, and it's right across the street from a warehouse. The Vulcan's Material Company. So
Sometimes it's not always updated, though.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes it's not all. We did that once.
Yeah, I know. But
we did that once. We went out. I can't remember what we were looking. Oh, we were looking for what was supposed to be an old witch's cabin. Okay, can't remember where it's here in Wisconsin. There was a story about this place. We went out. We went to the road, found the road and everything, and when we got there, we weren't getting out of the car. I think they ended up. What happened was, and this is kind of scary in and of itself. Where the witch's cabin was supposed to be, according to the satellite map, and what my research said, the exact location, they were destroying. They were out there cutting down trees. There was guys out there with big chainsaws, big heavy, the big heavy equipment. And there was also a few people out there walking around with rifles and shotguns.
Oh, okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, keep going. Don't even slow down. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Like we're lost, or something. Yeah, I was kind of freaked out. And it's just a little small town. And I think what happened is they ended up with too much traffic or too much something going on because of that cabin. Because they were literally had that thing totally demolished. You could see parts of what looked like a cabin in what was left of the rubble there, and it looked like they had it all piled up, getting ready to burn it.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But these guys were on the road with the guns. They were walking along the road and had their pickup trucks parked right there. And this wasn't even any kind of hunting season that we were down there either.
Yeah.
It was like they were trying to prevent anybody from stopping them from doing what they were doing.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got to remember, a lot of states have open carry, and they can carry shotguns, you can carry sidearms, you can carry AR-15s.
But the way they were walking and the way they were sitting there, this was being done with a purpose. They were there to prevent them from prevent anybody from stopping them from destroying that witch's cabin.
Yeah. Huh.
And I got a feeling there was too much occult stuff going on in there or something.
Yeah.
And I read a lot about that too, that was going on near there.
And where was that
supposed
at?
To be some kind of nexus there.
Where was that exactly?
I can't remember, and I wish this is one of those times I wish Tanya wasn't working second shift.
I mean, was it Wisconsin or?
Yes, this was here in Wisconsin. My wife would remember because we drove down there, and it scared the hell out of her too, because the guys walking, they were on both sides of this gravel road walking with guns, and I think if you posed any type of threat, they were going to make sure you kept going or met the consequences,
Yeah.
because I don't think they wanted to be stopped. And they were actually had what do you call the thing with the big shovel on the front of it? The
backhoe.
Yeah, and because they were when we were coming through, they were busting up what looked like a cement platform that was underneath that, where the cabin was.
Okay. Yeah.
But we looked it up on the satellite before we left, so we got an exact location of where it was. And it showed it. The satellite picture showed the cabin still being there. But when we got there, no, it was no longer there. They were getting ready to burn everything. I mean, they had a burn pile. You could tell that this particular pile from that witch's cabin and the whatever was surrounding it was being burned.
Huh.
And they were clearing out all the surrounding
Not familiar
trees.
with that, but
And they were clearing out all the surrounding trees to control the fire, I believe.
when
It-
we went, I had to go to a wake for a friend of mine that I knew 31 years ago. She was actually the mother of Judy and Mary Huff, and Judy Huff was the one that took that famous photograph out of Bachelor's Grove of the woman sitting on the tombstone back in 1991. So it was her mother, who was also part of the group back in 1991.
Yeah.
And so we went out to Dixon, and I was the only thing I know in Dixon that's kind of interesting is obviously it's Ronald Reagan's boyhood home, which I actually went 2 years ago, and then also Dixon Mounds, which is an Indian burial site that initially had the actual remains of Indians on display until the Indians found out about this, and they said, well, it's desecration.
Right. They don't like that.
So they removed all the actual bones, and what the park district did is they put plaster cast of those bones in the exact same positions that they were when they dug them up. So if you were to visit it, you'd never know that they were not original. So I was looking up to see what might be in Dixon that I could see when I was there, and there was only one story that I was able to come up with. There was a road called Bloody Gulch Road, and the name itself is kind of a weird.
Yeah.
So I did a little research on my cell phone here, and I actually pulled up that there was at least 2 very mysterious deaths that occurred on that road. One of a man who was killed, and his body was thrown into a ditch, and they tried to bury him, but unfortunately they didn't do such a good job. I mean, his hand was actually sticking up out of the ground, and then somebody saw that and they reported, and he was dug up, and I don't know if they ever caught the guy who actually did it. There was another one further down the road near an old abandoned home, or house, I should say, where a little girl had been killed, apparently abducted and killed by somebody out there. So there was at least 2 actual murders that took place down this road. And I don't know if that's after before it was named Bloody Gulch Road or after they called it Bloody Gulch Road. But we didn't have time to stop, and I didn't even know where these homes were or even where the bodies would have been buried. So I'd have been searching all up and down the road. But I took a picture of the sign, which I thought was a very unique road name, sort of like the several other roads that I've been to, like one called Shades of Death Road, then in New Jersey that I had visited, and of course Blood Point Road, which is near Rockford, that Rockford area, and that's supposed to be a haunted road, as is Shades of Death Road, and it actually does have signs that say Blood Point Road and Shades of Death Road. So I was there with Randy Liebeck with that time, and still is my New Jersey state coordinator for the group. And he took us around to try to locate this lake called Ghost Lake, which we finally found. And so I got a picture of myself in the middle of the night standing next to the sign that says Forest Preserve Ghost Lake, and there's a lake behind it. And the story with that is supposedly there's a white woman, a white figure of a woman that is seen rising up from the lake, and she's kind of like glowing, and that's why they gave it the name Ghost Lake. It's actually in a forest preserve called Jenny Jump Forest Preserve, which is kind of a weird name for forest preserve too. And when we were trying to leave the area to get back to my hotel, I was driving, and Randy was trying to, turn here, turn here, turn here. Okay, we got lost, and Randy says he's been up and down that road dozens of times, and it just every time we would turn, we thought we were going the right direction. Hey, you see that house? We passed that house again, didn't we? Oh, we passed it again, didn't we? And we just kept going in circles. And Randy, who was a police officer, and now he's actually with the Department of Homeland Security, he was actually getting freaked out. He goes, "Whoa! I mean, what did we enter into the Twilight Zone or something? I mean, we just simply can't get out of here." And then after literally an hour and a half, we were able to figure out which way to go. But it just seemed like, oh, we didn't come from that direction. We came from this direction. We came back in that direction. We kept going in circles. And that was really crazy. And so Shades of Death Road, if you ever subscribed to it, ever heard of a group called Weird New Jersey, they have it in their publications about Shades of Death Road and some of the strange things that have happened there. Is that the one you're talking about?
I found the cat. They call it Witch Road. It's in Fond du Lac. It says Callan Road, also known as Witch Road near Fond du Lac, is said to have once been the home of a crone whose likeness can still be seen in the twisted branches of the old trees. Callan Road is a short road branching off from Highway KK near Fond du Lac in Rosendale, Wisconsin. It's known locally as Witch Road because of a legend of an evil old witch who lived in the abandoned ruins of an old house in the woods beside the road. She has haunted the road ever since her death, causing a number of unexplained phenomena to happen on the road, including strange lights, unusual cold and dark spots, mysterious sounds, and the apparition of a young girl peeking out from behind the trees.
Interesting.
And then down here it says reported hauntings, face of the witch appears in the tree, sound of water, ghost of a young girl hiding among the trees, and lights in the trees and field near the road.
Yeah,
But
that picture that's right there. I mean, it looks very similar to what you find when you go down the Spooklight Road into
like
Joplin.
I said, it's not going to look like that anymore because they cut a lot of this down.
Right.
When we were there, they were cutting a lot of this down, and that was earlier this year, by the way. They were cutting a lot of this down, and they destroyed that cabin to the point where, like I said, they were getting ready to burn it. And this road is still a gravel road, a gravel-looking type road, like it looks there in the picture. It's still that way. It's still a dirt road.
Yeah.
It's very rough driving through there.
Is that the road?
Obviously.
Is that the road KK they talk about?
Yeah, this is KK, and then there's a short road that branches off of it, and it's almost like a dead end. And her cabin was like, and we found where it was, and we figured it out, and it was obvious when we got there. We didn't have to look very hard because you could see the remnants of it.
You didn't get any pictures by any chance, did you?
No, I wasn't going to take any chances with those people walking around with guns.
Yeah. Okay.
I was literally pretty much afraid of them.
Yeah.
More than I would be a ghost because
Exactly.
people are so unpredictable.
How it is. Yeah.
I could be sitting there with my phone taking a picture, or having her take her camera out, take a picture of that, and then them, come tapping on the window or something and throwing a fit or, threatening us or some shit. I wasn't taking any chances.
Well, you could always,
I wanted to. I really did. I wanted to so bad.
You could have always hung the phone out there and said, "Hey, I'm a Wiccan. I'm a Wiccan."
But
yeah,
I don't want to go back there because of that, of what I saw.
Yeah.
But I really did want to find that cabin. I mean, we had that thing narrowed down. I mean, we knew exactly where it was, and yeah, we drove right up on it, and that's what we saw. It was being destroyed, and a lot of that wood along that road was being destroyed with it. I
Yeah,
think they were clearing that out because when they started the fire, they didn't want the whole set of wood, all of it to catch on fire because there was homes in there too.
yeah. That's kind of similar to a story of a place called Hatchet Man Cemetery, which actually is Mackey Cemetery in Marshall, Illinois. And there used to be, there still is, when I was out there a couple of years ago, the remnants of what they call Hatchet Man Cabin. And supposedly there's a guy that, comes out there in the middle of the night and chases people away with a hatchet, and apparently had killed his family in this small home, or almost like a cabin. And I wanted to get for my collection. I wanted to get a piece of the timbers or something for my collection. And the weeds were like waist high, and I said, I'm not about to go in there and get chiggers or ticks or deer ticks or something like that. So somebody actually volunteered to go in, and I was able to get some actual nails from the cabin and a couple of small pieces of wood for my collection of kind of weird and unusual places. But yeah, that's kind of reminds me of similar to what you're talking about. And there's another story in Illinois also about a witch's house. I'm trying to think of where it is now, but I don't think it's there anymore. She was kind of an outcast. The story is that she was an outcast. Whether it's a true story or not, she was an outcast, and they said that she used to practice rituals and so forth like that. And she lived on the fringe of the city, way out in the sticks. And trying to remember where that was, but I seem to remember that it sounded more like a bit of an urban legend than an actual real story.
Right. Well, I kind of, when I was a kid, I remember my brother and we used to get real fascinated with, running across the abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
We lived next door to like an abandoned gas station, and then there was this tiny little, I don't remember, it was just a really tiny, but it was kind of spooky because it was so tiny. And it was like you could tell somebody lived there at one time, but there was no kitchen, no bathroom. It was just a tiny little room in the middle of a trailer court, and it had been abandoned for years. You could tell that too. But there was stuff that was left over in it.
Yeah.
And back then in the 70s and the 80s and stuff, you could get away with, stopping at some of these abandoned buildings and exploring.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they'll get you for trespassing.
Yeah.
Or something. And it's kind of sad because there's some there's some really cool structures in Wisconsin. I would really like to find a place to stop just so that I could take some pictures of it at least. But some of them are difficult because, the only way to really get a good look at them is on a major highway, and that's not a safe place to stop. Not even in Wisconsin.
There used to be, or maybe still is, a place in Wisconsin called Summerwind. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it, and it still does exist as far as I know.
Yeah.
Summerwind Mansion.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Summerwind Mansion?
I believe so. I think it's just simply called Summerwind, but it may be Summerwind Mansion.
Right. But it's simply called Summerwind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
That's the same thing with Bachelor's Grove. I mean, back in the 70s, nobody seemed to care that you were out there in the middle of the night.
Right.
But later on, they said, well, I mean, the place was getting tore up by vandals and teenagers and drunks.
That's just it. That's just it. People sit there and do that kind of stuff. And I see that a lot because we went down to Mark didn't go with us, so he didn't get to see this. It was just one of these trips my wife and I just decided to last minute just take out of the blue. And we went out to the Devil's Punch Bowl, and there was graffiti tags
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, what the hell? Well, that's kind of like you will get it for trespassing, and they've got signs posted.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go and visit Motel Hell or the Marble Motel or what they call it or whatever it was called, but it's here in Wisconsin. It's nothing but rubble left, standing. But it was kind of a unique place. It's got unique stories because of the fire that took place there. I think twice. There was 2 fires there.
Are
Um, but
you guys
because
familiar with a place called the Pink Lady of Greencastle, Indiana?
no, but
Have you heard that story?
what I was going to say is they had rituals out there, and that's what caused them to be very strict about this
Yeah.
place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People were like going out there to do all these different rituals and try to find some kind of portal or whatever, the stories and the legends were about the place. But it all started because of the fires and, people that possibly died in those fires, I believe. I don't remember the exact details.
Yeah, there was a couple people that went out to investigate this old abandoned building in Greencastle, Indiana, probably in the late 70s or early 80s. And it was actually the O'Hare mansion. We actually know who once lived in it, the O'Hare family. And he went out there. Guy Winters, and I can't think of his partner's name. And then there was a couple of other people that went along with him. And they took some incredible photographs of a full-bodied apparition that was peering out of windows and doors, and they call it the Pink Lady because of the shade of the coloring of the apparition. And you can actually pull up those photographs real easy if you go to Pink Lady of Greencastle, Indiana. You can see those photographs really clear. Now, the place was torn down years ago, and I just recently, when my friend was in from England in late May, in the last 2 weeks of May,
Right.
that's one of the places he wanted to go to. So I was able to actually trace down this guy that was still out there, went out there, and he gave us directions, and he said, well, he thinks it might be private property. But I said, well, if there's no signs on there, then typically you can't really be trespassed. It may be somebody's property, but normally, first of all, when we got there, it wasn't fenced off. It was wide open field, and we saw a clump of trees in the distance, and we were actually able to find the foundations of this house where this apparition was photographed. And I was able to get a brick that I was able to take away from the old building. When they tore this building down, they had stacked all the bricks up. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building. And they were going to reuse those in another home, obviously, because a lot of the bricks were undamaged. They didn't just come in and haphazardly and just knock it down with a giant excavator or something like that. They took their time, but there were a couple several bricks we were able to find, and actually what looked like the front steps leading up until the front of the house. It was a little it's a little bit of a walk from the road, but we decided to go out there anyway because we wanted to see it. And sure enough, we found the place, and I was really amazed when we found it. And it's one of the most interesting photographs that I saw recently in recent years of an apparition. So I don't know if we be able to ever actually go out and do an investigation out there, but we were able to see the actual site. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, see, that's like I gotta find a way to get out to that motel, the rubble, at least to get a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't stop me from pulling over on the side of a country road like that and taking a picture because that's public. That's public. That's
Right.
a public road.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm not going to trespass because there are no trespassing signs, and they will come and find you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm very careful about keep out, no trespassing, and stuff like that. And I never trespass.
Well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it at that park in Lake Mills. They ain't gonna stop me there.
Okay.
Well, it's wide open on the one end from the sidewalk, from the public sidewalk and stuff. And I'm not gonna hurt nothing.
It's not
or
a
anything.
sidewalk. It's not a
Whatever.
sidewalk.
Or a
There's
road.
no sidewalk there. It's a road.
Whatever, the road. But anyway,
It's a road and a curb.
whatever. I just want to walk in there and stand on the mound to see if I actually hear it with a EVP thing, a recorder of my camera, and maybe a compass, and see if things go off kind of all funky. Real quick, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, Dale, new thoughts on that with the compass thing. That was my idea. Because, whenever you do get some energies, they have a tendency of messing with the
making the
electromagnetics.
compass go kind of nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we thought about that when we were talking about that property out there for Bray Road.
Yeah, I know.
When we go
I
back
have
out
a,
there.
I said that's one device we haven't used yet.
Not yet, but that's where we talked about using it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I picked up a military grade Landsthetic tritium charged compass, which basically glows in the dark because it's radioactive tritium, which again is a very low amount of radiation, but it actually glows in the dark. It's not a phosphorescent that you got to hold underneath the light. You open it up, it's glowing right now, and it's Landsthetic, so you can actually pop up the little thing and you can shoot azimuths and so forth to figure out exactly where you're at. And it's an actual military grade. It actually came in a olive drab little pouch that you would attach to your belt, and it says U.S. on it. And I got it at an Army surplus store.
I like those places.
I'm sorry?
I like those places. They used to have a couple of them in Madison,
Yeah.
and then they just disappeared.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they just boom up and vanished. And there was one that was really cool. You could find some. Oh man, I'd be out more often in the wintertime, or not in the wintertime, but as it got colder, if I could find another jacket like I got from an Army surplus store.
Yeah.
I got a survival knife in there that even had a compass on it. And that sucker was nicer than the ones you bought from those novelty shops, or something. The ones I had seen on TV, those things suck compared to the one I found in an Army surplus store. Rambo style.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Somebody stole that about a year later from me. Yeah. Sucks too, because it was really.
That kind of reminds me of the movie Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
When they're in that alley and the guy pulls out a knife and he pulls out his knife. He goes, "That a knife?" He goes, "This is a knife."
Yeah.
And the guy just takes off running. Yeah. A huge knife. Yeah. I was actually able to locate and find, I think it was through an Army surplus store, a Generation 1 Russian-made night vision binoculars, which are not the greatest in the world. They cost me $600, but they're not the most. They were my first actual night vision binoculars that I had, and they actually, when you turn them on, they glow back at you, and you can see quite a ways. They also, unfortunately, they're not really clear. Even when you try to focus them, they're still a little blurry because the optics are not so great. They're not a Generation 3 or 4. They're like a Generation 1, they call it. So they're like one of the first ones that came out. But I was able to adapt that a little bit and put an infrared illuminator on top of it, which actually doubled the power of the lens, because the way they came right out of the box. They had amplified ambient light 30,000 times. So if you just had moonlight or starlight or, unless you're in a cave, there's always going to be some ambient light around you. So you never, unless you go in a cave, and you completely dark cave, and your eyes will never adjust. they will never see any more than what you're seeing, unless you have some sort of illuminator. So if you're outdoors with these binoculars, there's so ambient light around you, and it amplifies it 30,000 times. You just got to make sure that when you're looking down, with the binoculars, that somebody doesn't flash a flashlight in your face, or or something like that, because it's literally going to blind you for a bit. That's amplifying it 30,000 times.
Yeah.
So it's not a
Well,
bad,
I don't use those things.
but I got better ones that I've had since then, and I still use those on occasion. So I'll probably bring those along when we go down to investigate that Spooklight as well. So they run on a bunch of AAA batteries. You can run it pretty much all night. But it's
What's this?
This is my goofballs.
your goofballs.
Yeah, you see how goofy they look?
I have no idea
Goofballs.
who they are. Must be nieces.
Nope. This one is Sarah. This one is Kate.
Yeah.
This is my sister-in-law's.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, they look like a couple of goofballs.
My goofballs. They're married.
You're married to your brothers, I assume?
Nope.
To each other.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. I wasn't going to say anything. I thought I'd be nice.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
Okay, but
And,
you've got a story to tell about them.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, I really don't. But
Yeah.
They
They're
do some good
married
work.
to each other. They're happy. They're very happy.
well, that's
All right.
what it is.
And they're
Back to their
following
work.
they're following a dream that they
Yeah.
want that they've been wanting to do.
Well, that's good. That's good.
This is their place here. Off the Table Farm Sanctuary.
Okay,
They rescue animals
very nice.
like cows and goats and pigs,
So
rabbits and stuff.
basically anything you can find on a farm.
Pretty much.
Nice, very nice.
Kate's working. Sarah stays home with the animals, and they've been doing fundraisers and donations. And I told her today because I had some stuff that we were scrapping, and I gave it to her for the animals because we do feed and bedding. So, and I told her today I'd make a mention of them on the show.
And where are they out of?
They're up by Montello.
Wisconsin?
Actually, they have a Westfield address.
Westfield?
Westfield address.
Okay, I know where that is.
County Road J, Westfield.
Okay, I know where Westfield is.
Yep. I was talking to Kate about possibly working with her and Sarah about fundraisers for them and see what we could do.
Maybe we can help them out there. Good
Yeah.
cause. Always for a good cause.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
especially if it's
Yeah.
local.
I can't say
Even
that they
better.
have anything haunted up there.
Westfield does though. Westfield's a very old town.
Yeah, Westfield is an old town. So is
I think
Montello
there
and
was
Harris.
I
Is
can't
that
remember what.
sanctuary, by the way, open to the public or no?
What's that?
Is that sanctuary open to the public?
They're kind of new with it,
Okay.
and they really haven't yet. I've just got back into contact with them because I've been
Well,
so damn busy with everything.
Maybe we'll have
I'll
to take
find
a
out
camera
more.
up there and go and
I'll go up.
talk to them.
I'll
Yeah.
go up and talk to them, interview
we'll have to
them
take-
possibly.
That's why I said maybe we'll have to take a camera up there and go talk to them.
Yeah,
So be a nice little road trip, if anything else. I love
Yeah.
Westfield. It's a nice town,
yeah. Westfield's a nice
Oh.
little joint.
but it's a long road trip, about 2 hours.
They said they're like 5 minutes away from Barb and Nick. That's my
Will we go up there?
they're kind of my ex
All right,
sister-in-laws.
whatever.
No,
You don't have to explain it.
but I still
you go-
consider them my sister-in-law.
All right, we go there. We got to also make a stop at a place called Pelican Lake,
Okay.
okay, and try to find a public
Pelican?
view of the lake. Okay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Pelican because it's called Pelican Lake.
No. And have our cameras ready, and if we go, we got to go super early in the morning so that we can go up there first.
Okay.
Get them eagles flying down right onto the lake and catching that fish out of the lake and bringing it up. And oh man, it's one of the coolest sights. And you see it every single morning up there.
Cool.
They all have their nests up and around the trees surrounding that lake.
Bald eagles or golden eagles?
Bald eagles.
Bald eagles. Never
Oh
saw
yeah,
an eagle before.
yeah. You see them quite. You see quite a few of them if you know where to look.
I
My
was
My
me.
father-in-law's got property not too far from Mississippi, the Mississippi River, that is, and on the what would that be? The west side of the state over there in that area. I can't think of the
Yeah,
town, but
it's the
yeah.
west side.
So we go over
Prairie du
there.
Chien is over there.
Yeah, we go over there, and one morning I woke up and we're just sitting out there in the chairs, waiting to get for everybody to get ready so we can go out for breakfast. And all of a sudden, we see this eagle and it caught a bird in midair. Bird got away. It decided, well, I'm going to catch you again. Caught that bird again, and it landed on the road about 20 feet from us and just started eating it. But
Yeah.
screw it, I'm not going to play this game and take it back to my nest. Thing got away from it, and it's like that was it. The part was the bird got away from the eagle, and then the eagle caught it again in midair so quickly. I mean, that was just a cool sight in and of itself. But seeing an eagle around there was pretty common. I mean, we woke up in the morning, and there was one eating a rodent right next to the fire pit.
Mhm.
You know, like by the time you got the camera, though, the sucker was gone.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of prey out there for him.
Oh yeah, well yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, there's not houses around. I mean, this is just a little piece of property next to a cornfield that's got a pole barn on it, and he parks his RV inside of it, and you know, got a place to sit in if it rains, so that you can still look outside pretty good and stuff. Got his little toys of his ATVs to ride around on trails and all that good stuff. You know, kind of a little spot to get away from the world. But it is a cool spot because I have seen a lot of wildlife every time I've been out there. It is just cool. We woke up one morning and there was like a whole family of raccoons there. You're just sitting out there, and if you're quiet enough sitting in the chairs, you'll end up having deer walk up to you practically. You know.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never seen an eagle in the wild. I've seen them obviously in sanctuaries or in
Right.
zoos or places like that, but never in the wild. Besides on TV, but it's not like being seen in person.
I see them here. They're quite common. You just got to go to the right places. You get close to the Mississippi River. In some areas, you'll see them all the time. You get out, like Pelican Lake up north. You get close to some of those big waters, you'll see them. I
So
mean,
basically, you're saying you want to go up there to off the table farm sanctuary, but you want to go to Pelican Lake first, which is 3 hours more north.
no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Really? I didn't think it was. Oh,
Rhinelander.
it's been a long time since I've been there, and I remember stopping in Westfield to see John along the way that trip.
Yeah, Rhinelander.
Because I stayed up
It's
in
just out.
Pelican Lake for
It's
like 3
outside
days.
Rhinelander
That was like back in, let's see, I met my wife in
and
2000.
Tomahawk.
So that was like the summer of 2006 was the last time I was up that way.
Shoot, I was still working back then.
I had just quit.
2009, so I was still working.
I just quit. They were
Yeah.
trying to force me. They were trying to force me to take a schedule and be on the schedule. And it's like, nope, I like coming and going as I please. But the people, well, uh, what do you call them? Well, I call them the old timers because they had been there forever. You know, those guys that had been there forever that had more seniority. You know, they were bitching because I could come and go anytime I wanted, and they had to be on a schedule. Well, when you're at, you know, it was still kind of like that time where, you know, I was still trying to cope with the leukemia and the pain and stuff. So I was having to pop the pills a lot because sometimes the pain would come on in the morning so bad. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to go drive cab and put people's lives at risk. You know, I'm going to take the pills and stay at home. Well, that means I got to call in sick or call in because I got too much pain. What happens when you do that too much? Well, then they fire you.
Oh yeah.
So the reason I agreed to go to work for that company was they didn't put me on the schedule and I could come and go as I please. I mean, when a company's begging you to come to work for them, you know, you can make some demands and get away with
Yeah,
it.
you can.
So, you know, that was my demand. That was my biggest demand. And I got them to kick me up about 2% on the commission of what I was making before. So I was making a little bit more money driving for the silverfish, as we called them. So, because they ruined the company that I was working for before that. You know, they screwed Mark and my brother over on that one.
Yeah, they did.
So I wasn't going to stay
Let's
there much
just say,
longer.
let's just say if they wouldn't have, and we would have kept the divisions going, I probably would still be there and in a management position there.
Yeah.
I might have stayed with them. I mean, there was a lot of benefits to it. Everybody got along mostly. You know, most of us drivers and peons were like a big family. You know, drivers, dispatchers, the people in the mechanics.
Yeah, the head mechanic, I liked her. She was cool.
Oh yeah, she was. She was the
That
one
was
that told me.
Nan.
She was the one that told me about those cars.
Mm-hmm.
They had to put restrictor plates on them and take out the chips. Otherwise, yeah, the cops couldn't catch them too easily. Somebody stole one.
Yep.
The cab companies up here bought old squad cars from the auctions.
Okay.
Every couple of years, they'd buy new squad. They'd go to the police auctions and buy squad cars. So, but they'd have to take the computer chip out of them, put a different one in, and put restrictor plates on them. But that was back when cars still had carburetors too. But the one company that he and I worked for, they were Chevy Caprices, and the other company had the Crown Vics.
I had a Chevy Caprice. I had a 1986
Oh,
Chevy Caprice.
I like those cars.
Had a 308 engine, and that thing ran like a top. I tell you,
Oh,
even when I got rid of it, that thing was still in perfect condition, except a little bit of body, rusty, because I had it for 10, 12 years. But
what year was it?
1986.
So that was a boxy one.
I'm sorry?
That was the boxy style. That was before they went to a bubble. Where they kind of looked like a big long box.
Yeah, it was a big full size car. I mean, literally,
Right.
we had plenty of room. I had a velour interior. Basically, I had a kind of like an engine kill switch. I had like a little puzzle thing I had to turn to turn the key. Otherwise, it would just it wouldn't start up. It was like a kill switch, and then what came factory like that. It was part of.
Wow.
But then, yeah, I love that car. It had spoke rims, and yeah, it was a nice car. It's one of my many Chevys I had.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Next car I get though is going to be a Mopar.
Well, you guys ready to hear a little bit about my conference coming up?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, we got to get to the end of this. So yeah, tell us about your conference.
Yeah, so it's called the Midwest Spirit Fest, and it's going to be on Sunday, October 16th, from 11 a.m. to I think 7 p.m. It may be running a little bit longer, and we have quite a number of speakers that are going to be talking. Kathy Kressel from Haunted Rockford, Jeannie Tilton from a group in Missouri called PREOM, which was Paranormal Research Investigators of Missouri. She'll be talking about near-death experiences. Larry Eisler and Dan Norville will be talking about the Black Hawk Wars. Tony Sobalski will be talking about American ghost walks and Chicago hauntings. Mike Smith is going to be giving a talk on haunted cemeteries and preservation. Rita Mae Moore is going to be giving a talk called Beyond the Veil, True Stories of a Haunted History Tour Guide. Sylvia Schultz will be talking, I believe, probably, I don't have the title yet, but I think it's probably going to be about the Peoria State Hospital complex out in Bartonville. Dean Thompson and Nick Ghost Head Soup will be talking about Paranormal Pickers Tribute. And a friend of mine, Drew Prince, will be giving a short talk at the end. And I don't have his title yet, but it'll probably be a psychic nature. So we're going to be having speakers all day long. Speakers are going to be talking for about 40 minutes with a 10-minute break in between.
Oh, sounds like a full event.
Yeah, it'll be vendors throughout the day. In the main room and spread throughout the building. There'll be 2 rooms for psychic readers to have a little bit of privacy with their clientele. And there'll be I have an astrologer right now. I have a couple of tarot card readers. I have one that's going to be going along with practicing and showing people how to bend spoon bending. I actually have one that's going to be a tea leaf reader, and there's a couple of others. I'm not sure what their specialty is offhand. And then on top of all that, there will be paranormal investigations of the haunted underground artesian well, which we have in the building. It's actually the building used to be the old John Bielfeldt Brewery. It was later called the White Bear Brewery, and it was actually being run kind of secretively during Prohibition by a guy named Joe Saltis, who was a gangster and a bootlegger. He was also kind of a compatriarch, I guess you could call him, of Al Capone. At least Al Capone tolerated him.
Tolerated him.
Yeah, tolerated him being on his south side and actually not competing against Capone, so we kind of let him run his business there. The artesian well, it pumps water literally 24/7, so it's the purest tasting, cleanest water you can probably get, and that makes the beer taste much better, as well as the alcohol and everything else. And we know for a fact that there was, it was run by gangsters. There was paranormal activity in the building when it was later on when it was called Widow McCleary's. There was video captured, or at least seen through closed circuit televisions of people sitting by the bar before the bar and the place was even open. And when they walked out there a few steps to confront this person, the person was gone. They were also seeing shadowy figures near upstairs pool table at the time. And once they approached that person, it just simply vanished in front of their eyes. According to the Thornton Historical Society, when they were doing repairs and knocking down some walls, they actually came across a body that was sealed up in the wall.
Wow.
Was thought to have been possibly a gangster that double-crossed the mob, and they got rid of him, and he never was found until decades later.
They found Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Actually,
and the well is interesting itself because, I mean, it's literally it's a domed, I will say domed, it's like a circular ceiling, kind of like almost like a cistern, I guess you might call it, all made of limestone, and then you got running water. So I mean, you got the two main elements that a lot of paranormal investigators believe help bring through spirits is that limestone connection and running water.
Right.
So we're going to be doing like probably little half-hour investigations in there in this well for like $10 a pop, which I think is very reasonable to go down there and do a little investigating along with either my, probably not myself because I'll be too busy, but some of my investigators from my team and maybe a psychic or two as we kind of switch people in and out of there. There's also going to be obviously food and beverage available for purchase because it is a restaurant and they have their own brand of alcohol. They call it Dead Drop, not Drop Dead, but Dead Drop whiskey, which is kind of a flip on words there a little bit, which is kind of interesting because paranormal stuff is going on there as well. And so, it's going to be a full day of events, and we've already got the tickets through Eventbrite right now. So you can go to eventually my website, but you go to my Facebook page right now, or there's actually it's set up through my timeline, the Ghost Research Society page, and then we also have a page called the Midwest Spirit Fest, and I've also been posting this also on my timeline, and eventually it'll be up on my website. It's going to go up on Instagram, hopefully on Twitch, as many different platforms as I can get it onto, and to get the word out when the event.
Well, you gotta stay away from TikTok. I got told we're too old for TikTok.
TikTok, yeah. I'm not even sure how to even do TikTok, to tell you the truth. But
I don't either, but I got told we're too old for TikTok.
Okay, sounds good.
They told me that last night, believe it or not.
Your son?
No, my daughter.
Your daughter?
My oldest daughter, Deborah.
Oh, Jesus.
She told me I'm too old for TikTok, that I'm supposed to stay off of it. I said, shit, that's a good way to advertise my show, though.
Yeah. So I mean, the very first day it went up, I picked up about 10 tickets the very first day, which is good. And we're adding more and more psychics and more vendors.
Well, paranormal is getting more socially acceptable. So
Absolutely.
So these things, when they sell tickets and stuff like that, it doesn't surprise me when people start, selling the tickets for things like this, and they.
Yeah. I was just on yesterday. I was on another podcast called Southern Fried Paranormal. My friend Len Dorman out of Arkansas.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had him on this show, I think.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy, and he told me to put together like a 30-second video and send it to him, and he'll run it every single show, which is great advertising for me. So I'm reaching out to other podcasts. I'm also reaching out to other Facebook pages that let you promote your events and so forth. Yeah. So to get the word out, and as you know, in social media, it's like a pyramid effect. You start here, and then more people share it. And it just continues to be shared. So
hey, I think if it's used right, if social media is used right, and it can be abused.
Absolutely.
Things like this can be abused.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it's used right, it can create some very positive results for people like you and I and our buddies off the rails and some of these other places,
Yeah.
But it's got to be used right. You can't abuse it.
Absolutely. And then with the upcoming events I have coming up, I have, like I said, I'm going to be going on August 13th. I'm going to be at the Hannah House meet and greet, and down in Indianapolis, and they literally have. Last year they had over 100 different tables out there on the lawn of the Hannah House, which is a free event to go to show up at, So I'll have flyers made for that event. I can pass out to people with the Eventbrite link on there, but people can go directly. Right now, it's the tickets for the month of August are only $10 to get in. I think with the Eventbrite fee, I think it ends up to be about $12 or something like that. But and then after the month of August, the whole month of September, it'll be only $15 to get in, and then beginning of October through October 15th, like the day before, it'll go up to $20. And then in the day of at the door, it's 25. So that's I did that purposely to try to attract more people to get advance tickets, through Eventbrite, and save some money, which is the way to do it. If people want to show up at the door, there'll be tickets available. We're setting up at least 150 to 200 seats to begin with. I think we might be able to get at least that many, which I think would be nice. I also
like an interesting event.
I'm sorry.
Sounds like it's going to be a big event.
It is. I'm hoping we can. This is something I hope we can do on an annual basis. So if it works out really well for myself and I'm getting the venue basically for free. It's not costing me a penny for the venue.
That's cool.
That's the way to do it, though.
Venue. All he wants to take is a cut. I mean, he wants to take basically just the food and beverages as what he wants, and basically everything else I take in myself. So that's cool. August 20th, I'll be doing a Talk at Haunted Rockford conference in Rockford, so I can pass out flyers there. I have the non-con big event down on September 24th and 25th in Polktown Elementary School, which there's going to be a few hundred vendors out there, so I'll be able to pass out flyers there as well. So I hope with all the different social media, and I don't have an Instagram account right now. People said I should have had it a long time ago. Wasn't exactly sure, what that's all about. I'm kind of old-fashioned. But
yeah, well, you and me both.
A lot of stuff with Instagram, so I might look into getting an Instagram account and promoting it on Instagram and Twitch and places like that, and any place I can. Twitter, I belong to Twitter. I don't know if anybody ever uses MySpace anymore. It's kind of an antiquated old system, but I have a MySpace account.
That one's hardly recognizable anymore.
Yeah, I know. I still have an account there. I don't know. I'll put the thing up there. I don't know if anybody will see it, but I'll put it up there because I belong to a lot of different platforms. And I think you can probably post a poster or something like that to Twitter, I assume. But I'll have to.
I tell you, it'd be nice if I could make it to your event, but I don't think I could make it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a long weekend for me to begin with.
Yeah.
Because we got our thing.
It'll be an annual event, so I mean, I wanted to have it on a Saturday, which would have been better. I think
that's what we're doing.
The weekend, the day before, he's having a big wedding that he's making like $30,000 for that wedding.
Wow.
So I mean, he wasn't going to give that date for me because I'm not bringing in no $30,000 for him. But so Sunday. Hopefully it'll be fine. Even if I get 60, 70 people, I think that would be a success.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people will come in possibly. I think if you offer them entertainment the whole day with speakers, I think they'll probably pretty much stay the whole day. They can eat, they can have lunch, and they can have dinner right there at the venue. They have drinks. In fact, the upstairs where we're going to have the speakers and some of the vendors, there's a bar right up there, so you don't even have to walk downstairs to the main part of the restaurant to get drinks. The restrooms right up there, free parking in the back. There's a big parking lot in the back. There's also a commuter lot in the back and free street parking. So everything's free as far as parking there, and I think it'll be a great event. I hope. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I put a lot of work into it so far. And I don't have much out of pocket. All I have to really do is put up some signage and have some sort of wristband. So when people come in, they want to come in and out, they just show the wristband. And instead of checking in and out, they can wander throughout the building and out the building and to their cars, or if they want to eat someplace else, they can do that. But we're hoping that they will eat and drink there, so they'll make the owner happy. And then if he's happy, then maybe we'll do it again, next year as well. So it's a little bit different, but I mean, I got a lot of great speakers that have been around for a while, and they give very good talks. I looking trying to get some volunteers from my group to kind of help me up with setup and everything, and manning tables, so I can basically be more free to wander around and make sure everybody's happy and everything's flowing smoothly. So I'm not kind of tied down to one area.
Right.
But, yeah. So I'm very excited about it. The owners.
Wish you luck. Hope it goes well.
He actually helped me set up the Eventbrite page, which I never did anything through Eventbrite before. So I was kind of a bit lost at first, and so he helped me with that a lot when I was there. The speakers are getting a free table to sell their wares. They're going to be like 4 foot by 8 foot sections of space, and I'm trying right now to because there's not too many tables there at the venue. That's the only thing, unfortunately, that's not good. I mean, we have plenty of chairs, but not so many tables. So I'm asking them, speakers, to bring their own table when they can. We do have some limited amount of tables that we can provide for some of the speakers. But the vendors and the psychics, were asking for them to bring their own tables. And usually, if you're a vendor, you usually have your own table. But if you don't, then we do have some tables we can provide, some smaller card tables, and they're kind of like circular tables where the flaps kind of fold down, and they kind of make them like a half circle, which I think sometimes will be just fine if you're just a psychic reader, and that's all the space you need is to put up like some business cards and have a little space to to converse with your client. Usually that's sufficient. So we'll see how that works out. I will be able to bring some tables along myself, but I'm excited. Hope everything works out with it, and we can do it on an annual basis. And so it's a different venue. I seem to be just pretty lucky. I'm falling into these locations where nobody wants to charge me anything.
Yeah, lucky.
So I did that at the Evangelical Spiritualist Church, and I'm welcome back anytime to do a free event there, or even a free investigation.
I couldn't do that anyway.
And now this gentleman just said he opened
I'm not allowed to walk into churches.
I'm sorry?
I'm not allowed to walk into a church.
Oh, okay. All right.
You'll believe in spontaneous combustion.
All right. Sounds good. But I mean, that's the biggest. That's usually your biggest cost when you're putting on these events.
Oh yeah, it's the location.
Yeah, the location, obviously, and so. I mean, sometimes you can do them in hotels, but then the hotels, they can charge $1,500 or more for a room, on the low end sometimes.
I don't even want to know.
So,
I can imagine.
If I had to do that, then I'd have to, do a lot of advertising, and maybe, paid advertising. And
and see, and you're doing it, I'm going to go off. All right. Everybody stay safe. Remember, everything's possible, and we'll see you next Friday. I got something to tell you, but I don't want to say it on camera. So that's why we're live.
Well, I'm going to be taking off here myself in a second because I have to get up.
This will be real quick.
I have a